Good morning on this Sunday, November 8th, and welcome to the Georgia Gang. What a week. Is it too close to call, or will Georgia help to give Democrats a historic presidential win? It appears Georgia also becomes ground zero for control of the U.S. Senate, with 2 Senate runoffs that won't be decided until January 5th. And a look at how metro area counties flipped to blue. Theron, Phil, Janelle, and Kathy are all joining us as we continue our social distancing. The debate and discussion begin right now.
From the Fox 5 studios, the Georgia Gang starts now.
Wow, let's begin with the presidential race in Georgia. If there were ever any doubts about Georgia being a battleground state, I think Tuesday cleared that up for us. And Phil, I want to begin with you because we heard from Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, also Gabe Sterling, that we may not have results, official results here, at least for another week, because this could go into an automatic recount.
That's right, Lori. When the secretary and his aide, Gabe Sterling, spoke on Friday, they went through the process. And what has to happen is all 159 counties in Georgia, after they've thrown out challenged ballots and completed their counts, then they certify their elections. And after all 159 counties do that, then it goes to the state. And then the Secretary of State's office certifies the election. And then after such certification, then either side could demand a recount, depending on what happens. Of course, as we tape Friday, we don't know. It's been a roller coaster back and forth. In fact, on Friday, everyone was looking at the military ballots to see if that would switch toward Trump. So there's where we are. In fact, federal law says that all states in the union have until December 8th to finally declare who won, and then you have the Electoral College that votes on December 14th.
Great background. Thank you, Phil, for that explainer. Theron, over to you. You know, Democrats have been saying for years this is the year that Georgia turns blue or purple, and it looks like 2020 is the year. Your thoughts on the events of the past week and where we are?
Well, I think the first thing we got to do is just encourage people to remain calm and be patient. This is going to be a long process. It's too close to call in the nation right now, and it's a little too close to call in Georgia. However, I want to first start off by thanking the voters. They voted to begin this process, which we've known for a long time that we've been working on as Democrats, of turning Georgia blue. Secondly, I would just like to thank the poll workers and all the executive director, county officials, and particularly in the elections offices, for really doing the best that they possibly could to really administer an election during this pandemic and all these challenges that we have. And so, again, we are being patient, we're being calm, and look, let's just put it out there. The President of the United States of America has a legal right to question and challenge the outcome. All I think we're asking him to do, that if you have evidence, present it, and if you don't, then do what you're doing, but do it responsibly. And that is not to continue to try to divide the country, but let's continue to try to bring Americans together as we move forward to the next phase in this democracy.
Janelle, I want to follow up on that because President Trump was pretty far ahead here in Georgia and some of the other battleground states, and then these absentee votes started coming in from Fulton and DeKalb, Gwinnett, Chatham counties, and then the tide turned. What do you think about this?
I think that's why people are a little suspicious as to what's happening. You know, you have to look at the data. He got 55% of the white woman vote. He got 18% of the black male vote, 8%, which is double what he got in 2016 of the black female vote, 36% of the Latino vote. We flipped 8 House seats, and we maintained the Senate. And yet the president is struggling, and it looks like that Biden's expecting a blowout at the end. I mean, that's why people are suspicious. I think this is why we have to keep pushing forward. You know, I keep getting numerous emails from people who are saying that they've witnessed things that seem a little shady. And so I think that this is why we really have to pay attention to what's happening. The data just seems to not add up with what the results are. So, but I'm with Theron on this one. We have to be patient and just wait it out and see what happens. I'm still sticking with the president. I am with him all the way to the end. And I believe that the president will pull a victory in Georgia.
Kathy, we have to wait for all of these numbers to really be crunched and to figure out the data, but were you surprised with some of Janelle's numbers to see that President Trump made headway with African American male voters and some Latino voters?
Well, no, not a surprise. I mean, that has been discussed in polling leading up to the election. So I think it gives some direction to Democrats about things that we're going to need to do better for both future elections, but also for our discussion of public policy and how we move forward. I feel really confident that when we get to the end of this national process, that Biden will be elected the next president. And what's been great to watch, and Lord knows I have watched a lot of TV this week, is how all of the secretaries of state from across the country, Democrats and Republicans, have been very unified in their messaging about here's our process, here's how we go. It's been very transparent in virtually every state. I don't know of any credible complaints, including here in Georgia. And so I am really proud about the way this election has been conducted nationally. And I think when we get to the end of it, the outcome will be very, very clear that Joe Biden will be the next president.
And Phil, a couple of questions here. What did you think of the process? I mean, there were no lines on Election Day. The average wait was about 2 to 3 minutes. So kudos to the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, and his office working with all of the counties and also especially Fulton County. But, to Janelle's point and really to Kathy's, do you think a lot of Republicans, this was a personal vote against Donald Trump, not necessarily against Republican policies?
That's hard to say. I think that Janelle pointed out how President Donald Trump has really expanded the Republican Party, and I think that there was no blue wave in Georgia. The General Assembly remains comfortably in Republican hands. What the Democrats wanted to do, they've got on Friday President Trump at a tie, but they certainly didn't make any inroads. In fact, the House Democratic leader got defeated in his own district. So I would push back a little bit on Theron, though. The president has every right to worry about fraud and to call it out. The philosopher John Stuart Mill said, let's look at circumstantial evidence here of fraud. If there's a fish in a glass of milk, how many fish does it take before you decide to throw out the milk and get a new glass? So this is going to be a big legal battle in Georgia. I can tell you that right now, and it'll go on right up until probably December 5th. Lawsuits are being prepared as we tape this broadcast.
Yeah, Theron, give us a glimpse into what's ahead, at least from your vantage point in terms of lawsuits.
Well, let me just say this. I know my sister, Kathy Willard, has her blue on right now. I can't see you, Kathy, and I know you have blue on. You can't see
it's
me.
Here.
I have blue on. And Phil, yeah, there we go, sister. So this blue wave conversation, Phil, let's sort of punt that one to another day. Lori, I'm doing a responsible thing as a Democratic strategist who's been working in this state for 20 years. I'm doing a responsible thing by coming on this show as a person who is very limited in what I can say right now because I'm still one of the senior advisors for the Biden campaign. The responsible thing that I'm doing is I'm not coming on this show sort of picking sides and really pointing fingers. And I said, Phil, that the president has a legal right to contest election results. But he's got to present the evidence. What I'm saying is you can do it in a responsible way, in a responsible tone. Fast forward to where we're moving towards in the state, Lori, is that it's going to be a long, drawn-out process. That's why you hear me saying it's too close to call. We want to be patient, let the process play itself out, because we want to make sure that every single vote in Georgia is counted, every single vote. And so I think it won't be till probably 2-3 weeks from now where I will probably take off this responsibility hat that I'm wearing. It's kind of an invisible hat right now. And then I'll be able to talk about all the things that we were able to do in Georgia to make these tremendous strides. But right now, I'm here as an American saying that we got to make sure that we don't try to divide this country anymore. It's clearly that we are had a chance to vote, but we got to do our best to make sure that this process is played out and we don't necessarily cause more confusion that already exists.
Phil, I'll let you have the last word in this block, but it also reminds me of what happened, at least what Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, told us after the June primary, that people were so worried about whether or not their vote was counted that they sent in an absentee, but they also showed up at the polls to vote in person. Do you think we could see a little bit of that happening? Because I think there were maybe 2,000 people that did that, and maybe not intentionally. They just wanted to make sure that their vote counted.
I think you're making a good point there. In fact, it also makes me think that when the General Assembly starts in 2021 in January, I think the Republicans are going to make election reform one of the top priorities, and I would hope that Democrats would want to do that to fix some of these things. I would respond to Theron, and I have to laugh at this because he has called Trump every name in the book on this broadcast over the years, and Joe Biden has called him every name in the book, and now he wants to be responsible for a couple weeks. Come on. I'm going to say what Biden says. Come on, man. This is a tough one, and this is hardball.
Phil,
go ahead, Theron. Last word, real quick.
Phil, the reason I'm being responsible is because I have not called the president a lot of bad words. I've called him maybe a couple times some inappropriate, maybe bad words, but we're leading, and not saying we won yet. So we're in the lead. So this is someone that actually knows how to score a touchdown and hand the ball to the ref. That's what I'm doing right now.
All right, we'll leave it there.
Theron, the final vote is going to be 5 Supreme Court justices. That's going to be the final vote. That's my prediction.
All right, we're taking it back to Georgia in the next block. Coming up, a look at Georgia's 2 U.S. Senate races and the next 9 weeks.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Email them at georgiagang@foxtv.com.
Well, first, let's talk about Senate race number 1. We knew there was a chance that Senator David Perdue could be headed into a runoff with Jon Ossoff because of the Libertarian candidate in this race. It's been very close. Then in Senate race number 2, there was no doubt that this one would go into a runoff, but who would Raphael Warnock face? Well, now we know it's Senator Kelly Loeffler, and there she is on your screen. Phil, Senator Perdue is a powerful Republican incumbent. Results are not official yet, but it looks like another 9 weeks on the campaign trail. How does he fend off Jon Ossoff?
It does look like another 9 weeks. January 5th will be the big day for runoff day in Georgia. Interestingly, Senator Perdue polled higher than Donald Trump on November 3rd. And so that gives him in a good position. I think you'll see money pouring into both sides. Obviously, you'll see all those TV ads and mailers and everything. I think Senator Perdue is in a great position. I've mentioned on this show over the last few years that he's had great favorability ratings, great constituent service. He's got a very good record ranging from helping historically black colleges and universities to promoting defense spending. So Ossoff will have the money, Perdue will have the money, and it's just turnout. Both sides are going to have to get their turnout.
And Kathy, Democrats don't have a good track record when it comes to runoffs in Georgia and turning out their supporters. So what do they have to do this time around? And how is it different?
Well, I think what's different is that we have Stacey Abrams in Fair Fight Action, who is my client, I'll just say, on the ground here in Georgia, working very, very hard to get Democratic votes out and to help people understand the importance of the vote and to make sure that people cast their vote correctly. And I think that has been a huge margin. You know, we all know that the race for governor was decided by 55,000 votes. We can talk about that if we want to, but what I want to say is that Georgia is evenly split. Democrats are very motivated. The control of the Senate is in our hands, most likely. And so, you know, we've got a big responsibility to carry out this election so that we can get things done in Washington, to put a lid on COVID, to get our economy working again, to make sure people have health care and all the other things that are Democratic values, and I frankly think are national values as well.
Janelle, I know you're happy that Senator Loeffler is in the runoff, and I thought it was very classy of Doug Collins to concede this race as early as he did and then immediately throw his support behind Senator Loeffler. We want to mention that you are the honorary co-chair of the Loeffler campaign, but how does she move to the middle after the campaign we just saw where she said she was more conservative than Attila the Hun?
Well, so I don't think right now the message is about moving to the middle. And while I know that there are many people that feel very gracious or feel that Doug Collins was being very gracious, I still stand by the fact that I feel like he should have dropped out earlier. And I know that annoys so many people, but it's the fact. Had he dropped out, his votes would have went to Loeffler, and it's a high possibility that she would have won this right out. So keeping that in mind, we're now $50 million later on his end, and there's a number of candidates that could have used that financial support. And then when you look at where things are right now, the statistics show that her message works, that people believe in what she's saying. I think that her being authentic is the middle ground, and that's exactly where she should be. The state and the country is not as divided as Democrats keep repeating, because clearly we're showing in the data that both minorities as well as non-minorities are supporting these candidates. So, and it's right down the middle. So I think this is really good. I think she'll hold on to it and she'll be fine. We'll just continue to pick up all the rest of those votes that that Collins took from us during this jungle primary. But I'm excited about it.
Theron, I'll get you to respond to Janelle saying that Senator Loeffler is in the middle. But I also want to ask you, to be fair, Raphael Warnock had a pretty easy general election. I mean, he was able to introduce himself to voters. He didn't have to go after his Democratic rivals or Republican opponents. But now we know that gloves will come off. How does he fight the attacks that will surely paint him as a socialist?
Oh, Lori, last week it was weak, and this week it's easy. It wasn't easy for Raphael Warnock. He ran the better campaign. I think you really look at what Kathy and I have been saying about the Warnock campaign from its inception. Warnock just got better with time. He became a better candidate. His ads were tremendously better than they were in the beginning. Not saying they were bad, but they just got better. And so I think that he showed that he can be the person to go up against a Republican. And congratulations to Janelle, because listen, she's had to really face some tough questions about her candidate and Senator Loeffler on this show. And so now what Reverend Warnock is doing, Lori, which I'm so happy about, is that he's already come out with an ad that I think is very clever. And he's saying, hey, get ready, Georgia. They're going to lie about me. They're going to say a lot of things that are not true. And so having that ability to raise the money, become the consensus candidate, gets him in a great position to move to the middle where he's been throughout this election and to try to appeal to all Georgians. And then lastly, big shout out to Jon Ossoff. I predicted on this show, Lori, and I know Phil doesn't want to give me this credit, but I said that I thought Jon Ossoff was going to, number one, do better than a lot of people expected, because he ran a really, really good campaign, and now he's he's going into a runoff with an incumbent U.S. senator who has been there for 6 years. And so I think that Democrats right now in these two Senate races, we are going to kind of come together. We're going to raise the money. We're going to make sure that we talk about Georgia-specific issues. And yes, the race is going to be nationalized, but I think that we could not have two better candidates on the Democratic side right now in Georgia.
All right, well, don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say that he did not run a good campaign. We're talking about Raphael Warnock. I just said that he had it a little bit easier because his opponents weren't going after him so hard. So, wanted to clear that up. But Phil, just last word in this block, how much money and how many ads are headed to Georgia when it looks like the balance of the Senate could be settled in Georgia?
Oh man, I tell you what, I don't know what the estimates are going to be. Millions and millions are going to. They've started already, as a matter of fact, Lori, as you know. But I do think that, as we've said here on the show, that the Senate will be in play. And that's going to be critical for Republicans because, God forbid, if Biden does become president, we'll need a Republican Senate as a break on all the crazy New Deals, Green New Deals, and radical defunding the police programs and things like that. In fact, it was interesting that the House Democrats were very upset with the messaging of defunding the police and all of these radical plans. The moderate Democrats in the U.S. House caucus are furious with the socialists in their caucus. So that's good that the Democrats are divided in that area.
That's a good segue into our next block,
Lori,
because coming up, it appears the 6th congressional stays blue, the 7th turns blue, and Cobb County elects a Democratic Commission chairwoman. Still lots to discuss.
Join the discussion on the Georgia Gang Facebook page and watch past episodes on the Georgia Gang YouTube channel.
Let's talk about the 7th Congressional District, where Carolyn Bourdeaux appears to have defeated Republican Rich McCormick, a clear example of the changing demographics in Gwinnett County. Over to you, Janelle. On this one, we're saying a lot of it appears, it might be, because, it'll be a while before these votes are certified.
Yeah, I'm definitely watching Gwinnett very, very closely. I have been contacted about firsthand accounts of people who are just really concerned about what's happening in Gwinnett. And then when we look at the data, like I said, I one of the things that really stood out to me is that it seems like I think almost every Democrat won in Gwinnett except for one Republican. However, the referendum, which I know we'll get to later, that was being driven by Democrats, I believe failed. So it's kind of interesting to see what's happening there. I'm a little confused about it. But then again, there's so many more ballots to count, which may push Dr. McCormick over, or at least push them into a runoff.
Kathy, it looks like also Lucy McBath in the 6th overwhelmingly maintains her congressional seat in a battle with Republican Karen Handel, who wanted to reclaim her office.
Yeah, I think I said last week, Lucy McBath has just done a tremendous job of going from sort of civilian to member of Congress. I think that she has embraced the values of the district and reflected them very, very carefully. And I'm just enormously impressed. It's not an easy thing for anybody to do, and I think she's done a great job. And when I think about the thought that Carolyn Bourdeaux, Nikema Williams, and Lucy McBath will be sort of a triumvirate here in our congressional delegation, I'm really optimistic for, how things can get done for Georgia.
Phil, Karen Handel put up quite a fight, though.
Karen Handel did put up quite a fight. The 6th district is not the same as it was when Newt Gingrich used to represent it, or Johnny Isakson. But the good news for Republicans is next year they control the General Assembly, both houses. What does that mean? They're going to control the reapportionment process. What does that mean? Reapportionment is when we realign the legislative districts in both houses of the General Assembly. I live in Sandy Springs, for example. I used to be in the 6th until I got moved out. We've got a chunk of Republican voters we could put back in the 6th. We could pull them from elsewhere and even it out more. So Lucy McBath or whoever is in the 6th has got to worry about more Republican votes in that district, for example.
Theron, moving on to the chair of the Cobb County Commission, where Lisa Cupid is poised to make history. She will be the first African-American woman to serve as chairwoman. She's also a Democrat, another sign of the political and demographic switch in Cobb.
Well, I have to start by giving a huge shout out to Lucy McBath. I agree with Kathy. I think Lucy McBath is battle tested. She ran a fantastic campaign, and huge shout out to Carolyn Bourdeaux, who came this close from winning 2 years ago. And so I think she's already declared victory. I think she's going to be the next Congresswoman from the 7th Congressional District. So congratulations to them both. And then listen, Cobb County, Lisa Cupid, a wonderful, wonderful commissioner who is now the commission chair. She ran a good campaign. Cobb County is a blue county. She campaigned throughout the entire county. And the thing that I'm most proud of, Lori, is that for those of us who know Commissioner Cupid, she is one that really stands up for what she believes in, but she's focusing on making sure that she just not only campaigned to Democrats in the county, she's also going to campaign to many of the Republicans who still live in that county. And then we can't forget about Gwinnett County, Nicole Hendrickson. Big shout out to her for becoming, she's a winner this week along with Lisa, becoming the Gwinnett County new commission chair.
All right, Janelle, last word here. I have about 30 seconds just to address Cobb County and the changing demographics.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely the demographics are shifting in Cobb County. I mean, we saw that happening early on. But I have to say something. I live in the 6th district as well. And I'm telling you, I think I'm the only one here that lives in the 6th district. And I'm telling you, Lucy McBath, I can't continue to listen to all the praises. I don't even know her. I haven't received anything from her. I haven't gotten an email from her, even when she was in office before she was running for re-election. I suspect that we're going to get the same, just completely missing in action, Lucy McBath. So I'm not as excited as everyone else seems to be, and I live in this district.
All right, we'll wrap it there, everyone. Thank you, because coming up, we have winners and losers and lots of them. Stay tuned.
Time now for the week's winners and losers.
Phil, you can go first this week.
I'll actually do some non-political winners. One of them is going to be the Georgia Lottery, I think the best in the country, and they had a record-breaking first quarter of this fiscal year. They garnered $383.4 million, and that's going to be a great help to those Hope Scholarships and the pre-K program. And I'm wearing my Masters tie. The Masters tournament is going to start in Augusta, Georgia next week.
All right, sounds good. Theron.
All right, my first winner is going to be all of the staff in Georgia. You know who you are, a Biden-Harris staff, coordinated campaign, Democratic Party of Georgia, everyone. You guys are my winners. Second winner is going to be Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. Listen, many people forgot this. She endorsed Joe Biden back in June of 2019. It were people like me and other advisors that encouraged her to wait. She actually said it was the right thing to do. And then lastly, just want to congratulate Carletta Howell, who's the new Henry County Commissioner. I want to give her a big shout out.
All right, over to Janelle. About 50 seconds left of the show.
All I have is one winner, and that is the President of the United States of America, President Trump. I am just commending him for taking on the swamp, the establishment, the Democrats, the media, and everyone else.
All right, Kathy, wrap it up for me.
All right, I'm going to just say this. Watch Supreme Court decisions, whether or not the Senate will actually get a stimulus package out before the end of the year, and whether Perdue and Loeffler step away from the president or not as we go into the special election in January. I predict Democrats will prevail.
All right, thank you. And Kathy, you look good in blue.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. So much still to talk about. So we will see you again next week. Bye-bye.